Have to take them to the doctor. He has practice. 2:40:55 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, yeah, 5 minutes. 2:41:17 p.m. on the 28th. At 2:43:01 p.m., the defendant calls John. It's not answered. At 2:43:45 p.m., the defendant calls John. The call is rejected. John O'Keefe to the defendant, my father just walked in. 2:43:58 p.m. on the 28th. The defendant to John O'Keefe, okay, can you please call me for 2 minutes? 2:44:14 p.m. on the 28th.
Yes, it is, Mr. Wolf. Well done.
Keep the defendant.
Sorry about that, folks, but well done, Spanky.
On the 28th.
To get it up and running again quick.
The defendant to John O'Keefe, I'm there when anyone else needs me. 2:44:26 p.m. on the 28th. At 2:45:32 p.m., the defendant calls John. The call is rejected. The defendant calls Mr. O'Keefe. Yes, John, you gave me utter grief this morning. I'd like you to call me for amends. 2:46:16 p.m. on the 28th. The defendant to John O'Keefe, I've been trying to get over the hump with is arguing, and now you tell me you're not into doing it. You don't.
Could be YouTube, Jeremy Fowler. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that.
With me.
Round 3.
Like you're setting me up to fail. 2:47:08 p.m. on the 28th. The defendant to John O'Keefe, I've been dealing with my own personal crisis over things I have zero control over. I'd like to lean on you too sometimes. Instead, I just hear everything I've done wrong. 2:48:34 p.m. on the 28th. At 2:56 p.m., the defendant calls John. The call is rejected. At 2:51:13 p.m., the defendant calls John. It's rejected. 2:52:37 p.m., John calls the defendant. It's not answered. At 2:53:56, the defendant calls John. Again, not answered. The defendant, John O'Keefe, you seriously cannot pick up the phone for 2 seconds. 2:54:13 p.m.
The blue texts are, they are being answered.
John.
A lot of them are. Look at the difference between the blue and the
2:59:13, John calls the defendant. The call is
You'll see
answered
the
and they
difference
speak for
between
4
the two
minutes,
people.
59 seconds.
But he's not picking up the calls.
From the defendant to John O'Keefe, why don't you meet me at Hillside at 4:30/5, 3:08:55 p.m. John O'Keefe to the defendant sends an emoji at 3:10:08 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, or whenever you get, whenever you get everyone settled, 3:10:35 p.m. on the 28th. From John O'Keefe to the defendant, like I said, doctor now, and he has practice till 6. If you want to go start drinking, then go for it. 3:36:21 p.m. on the 28th.
They are big into drinking, this whole crew.
The defendant to John O'Keefe, I didn't know the times of his practice. 3:36:40 p.m. on the 28th. And the defendant to John O'Keefe, I just want to give you space at the house without me there. So rather meet you out than meet at the house. 3:37:01 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, yeah, well, now there's a 72-year-old taking up shop on my couch. 3:37:36 p.m. on the 28th. The defendant to John O'Keefe, yeah, that too. 3:37:46 p.m. 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, is he going to Collins? 3:38:23 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, not tonight. 3:38:32 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, so do you plan on going out tonight? 3:39:01 p.m. on the 28th. From John O'Keefe to the defendant, Karen, I don't know. 3:39:17 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, you're like jonesing to drink, so go. 3:39:43 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, okay, well, after how this morning went down, I don't think I need to be back over there with you.
Thank
getting
you, Michael
frustrated
Chambers.
at
Really
how I
appreciate
am
you.
with the kids. Has nothing to do with drinking. 3:40 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, I am paranoid now that everything I do with them is problematic. So rather see you for a minute without it, kids around. 3:24 p.m. on the 28th. From John O'Keefe to the defendant, what's your plan at 4:47:16 p.m. on the 28th? From the defendant to John O'Keefe, don't have one, 4:50:09 p.m. on the 28th. For John O'Keefe to the defendant, so still home, 4:26 p.m. on the 28th. The defendant to John O'Keefe, yes, 4:45 p.m. on the 28th. From John O'Keefe to the defendant, we just got home, waiting to see what Papa decides here, or else I have to get Patrick at 6. 4:59:45 p.m. on the 28th. The defendant, John O'Keefe, okay, 5:01:55 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, so are you staying home or coming here? 5:02:23 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, waiting to see what you end up doing. I don't want to hang out at the house too much, like I said. 5:03:40 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, I think it's clear me around the kids. Excuse me. I think it's clear me around with the kids. Around is slowly.
This is so
killing
much
our
more
relationship.
voyeurism
Our
than it is
relationship
anything
much
else.
more
I mean,
important to me.
correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me how you think this is setting up anything for the case, right? How about stipulating the relationship
John
wasn't
O'Keefe to the
good?
defendant. Well, there's a blizzard coming, so we'll be inside all weekend. 5:04:19 p.m. on the 28th. The defendant to John O'Keefe. It will be over by noon tomorrow. 5:04:44 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant. Don't think so. 5:05:27 p.m. on the 28th. Defendant to John O'Keefe. I don't want to keep having this constant conflict of the dynamic of the four of us. The harder I try, the more it kills our relationship as a couple. It feels like utter shit to be in that position. Rather just meet you out for drinks when you figure out what your night looks like. 5:06:45 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant. Well, I have no idea what's going on, so do what you want. 5:07:34 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant. Need to figure out what everyone is doing. Everyone here is doing. All I know now is Madeline is coming over. No clue about Patrick yet, or if Papa is planning on hanging it for a few more hours. 5:09:29 p.m. on the 28th.
Mr. Wolf, this is not an affair. They had been dating for years.
From the defendant to John O'Keefe. Okay, well, when you know the story, and if you want me to come up, let me know.
And obviously the relationship was not
5:12:36
great at
p.m.
this point,
on the
but
28th.
they had been dating for years.
John O'Keefe to the defendant. No, Karen, you decide what you want to do. 5:13:18 p.m. on the 28th.
The prosecution suggests that
defendant to
because
John
the
O'Keefe,
relationship had
I
gotten
know your
this
heart
rocky,
isn't
when she
in
was
this
drunk,
anymore.
she
I
intentionally
felt it
ran
for
him
a
over with
while,
her
and
car.
especially lately. I'm willing to try more, but not if you approaching the point of indifference. If you want me to come up and you can head out for a while, then say so when you know what your father is doing. 5:14:23 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant. You come up and I head out. Really? Emoji.
I'd almost bet the farm that the
5:15:48.
jury's asleep at this point.
John O'Keefe to the defendant. I've told you
Put a
already.
2 in the
I don't
chat if you
bounce
think they're
back as
losing the
quickly
jury with this.
as you do after we have a battle. 5:16:52 p.m. on the 28th.
I feel like they could have picked out stuff that would have made her
From the
look bad.
defendant to John O'Keefe.
There's
No,
so much.
head out
It's
together.
just bleh.
An emoji. 5:17:49 p.m. on the 28th.
I think they're
From the
losing the
defendant to
jury
John O'Keefe or
because
meet
they're
out.
losing me.
5:17:54 on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant. Gonna send Patrick to Collins tonight. They're picking him up around 7. Mike may hang out too when he brings Matt over. So why don't you just come over? 5:19:42 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe. Mike doesn't want to go out for a bit. 5:20:20 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe. I would like to, been a shit day from the jump. 5:20:33 p.m. on the 28th. From John O'Keefe to the defendant, probably 5:20:39 p.m. on the 28th.
Not a whole lot of
John
dignity
O'Keefe
in
to the
death
defendant,
either.
I
All of
just
this
got
being
sober an
dragged
hour
up for
ago,
the world.
5:20:56 p.m. on the 28th.
You're not going to hear enough people talk about it, but
From
alcohol
the
is
defendant
a
to
big
John O'Keefe,
factor in this.
I'll text you, hang with Mike for a few. I don't need to butt in. Text me if/when you think you may head out. 5:25:12 p.m. on the 28th.
Jordan Peterson made a video where he said 50% of the people who are murdered
John
are drunk
O'Keefe,
when they're
can you send
murdered.
me Tim Zoll's
50% of the
contact
people
info,
doing the
please?
murdering are drunk when they commit
5:26:38
murder.
p.m. on the 28th.
I can't find anything to back that up, but
John
it's gotten a
O'Keefe
lot
to
of
the defendant,
traction
I
based
paid
on
the
Jordan
last bill.
Peterson. Alcohol's
5:27:08
bad.
p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, you didn't have to do that. Thanks. 5:27:43 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, are you really not going to accept my friend request? 5:32:33
God,
p.m.
it does sound like high school kids, doesn't it?
John O'Keefe to the defendant, an emoji on what? FB, 5:33:01 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, yeah, we've been going out for 2 years. 5:33:20 p.m. on the 28th.
Well, I mean, going out for 2 years and eating dinner
John
and
O'Keefe
sleeping
to
with
the
one
defendant,
another and all that, but friends
haven't
book?
gone
I
on.
mean,
He
Facebook, that's
friended
kind of
me
a
over a
commitment, isn't
year
it?
ago, I believe. 5:33:48 p.m. on the 28th.
Jane Aldrich, can you find anything to
From the
document it? If
defendant
you
to
can,
John
send it
O'Keefe,
to me because
Kerry
I can't find
texted
stats to back
that they're
that.
headed out in a bit. 6:05:29 p.m. on the 28th. From John O'Keefe to the defendant, okay. 6:14:55 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, she's going to let me know where. 6:17:51 p.m. on the 28th. From John O'Keefe to the defendant, so you're going to meet them. 6:18:12 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, just presenting it as an option. Wouldn't mind hanging out with them for a drink.
Jane, you made a good point too.
p.m.
They've been doing this for how long? Right? They couldn't pick up the phone and talk to each other. It's awful.
From the defendant to John O'Keefe, is Mike over? 6:27:26 p.m. on the 28th. From John O'Keefe to the defendant, yes. 6:29:45 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, sounds you're like good with getting together tonight. 6:31:32 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, was hoping after this morning you'd be interested in smoothing things over with me. 6:32:24 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, told you to come over, but you insisted on meeting me out somewhere. 6:33:44 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, Mike is a little off with me for a while now. I've said that multiple times. 6:34:34 p.m. on the 28th. From John O'Keefe to Karen, the defendant, time to get over it, Karen. He's fine. He was fine the other night when he came by. 6:38:09 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, yeah, wouldn't mind hanging out with other people, like another female too. 6:39:09 p.m. on the 28th. From John O'Keefe to the defendant, where are you meeting them? 6:39:28 p.m. on the 28th.
Yeah, I can't imagine it'd be a lot of fun hanging out with all
From the
those
defendant
male
to John
cops
O'Keefe,
all the time.
I don't have plans with them. She just said they're headed out in a bit and will text when they land somewhere. 6:39:52 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, if you want to go out with Mike solo, that's fine. Just let me know. 6:40:17 p.m. on the 28th. From John O'Keefe to the defendant, I already told you what you should do. Not going to keep doing this. 6:41:07 p.m. on the 28th.
It's gross.
From the
They're going
defendant
to
to
lose
John
the jury
O'Keefe,
with this BS, in my opinion.
I asked
This is just
to
gross.
let me know if you guys are going to head out.
It's
I haven't been out
voyeurism
for
at its
drinks since
worst,
this
and
week
it's not
and
really
had a
doing
shit
much for the
week
case,
and
in
a
my
shit day.
opinion.
And shit day. And I dread Kaylee or Pat is going to get chatty with me the second I walk in, and that is going to irritate you. 6:43:21 on the 28th. From John O'Keefe to the defendant, Pat is leaving, Kay is with Mad Cam. 6:44:02 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, I'll text Chris then. 6:46:44 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, we're headed out shortly. What's your plan, Karen? 7:06:13 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, do you want me to join or no? 7:06:37 p.m. on the 28th.
What are you doing? Come here.
From John O'Keefe to the defendant, yes, wasn't sure if you were meeting the Currans. 7:07:04 p.m. on the 28th.
Makes it a lot worse,
From the
Kellen.
defendant to John O'Keefe, they are not out drinking yet. 7:07:40 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe.
Pretty sure they're not allowed to knit.
7:09:22 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, trying to decide maybe McCarthy's. 7:14:48 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, okay then, let me know where you decide. I'm still down in Enfield. 7:21:50 p.m. on the 28th. From John O'Keefe to the defendant, text me when you leave. Still waiting on McKinney's. 7:22:28 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, I'm having issues with my hot water, so had to text someone to take a look. 7:24:11 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, an emoji, you trying to piss me off. 7:25:35 on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, hope your plumber buddy that you texted is hot. 7:26:24 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, nope, my shower only got lukewarm and now my sink won't run hot at all. The plumber I used is right down the road. 7:26:27 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, I turned that temp thing in the basement all the way up. 7:26:52 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, check the hot water heater and see if it's leaking. 7:26:52 p.m. on the 28th. The defendant to John O'Keefe, it's not. 7:26:59 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, don't do that. 7:27:01 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, is the pilot lit? 7:27:08 p.m. on the 28th. And the defendant to John O'Keefe.
Hopefully they don't lose
O'Keefe
this.
to
There
the
we go. We're
defendant.
still here.
Just turn it back to.
You have to ask for a speedy trial. Most people don't because it takes a long time to prepare for a trial. Like Diddy is forcing the speedy trial, so we're seeing it come in 5 or 6 months or whatever. But for the most part, that doesn't happen. Most people don't exercise their constitutional right to a speedy trial for whatever reason. It just does not happen.
And get over here. 7:28:08 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, I don't want to come home in a blizzard and then really be up shit creek. 7:28:53 p.m. on the 28th.
She called the blizzard.
John O'Keefe to the defendant, so you're going home tonight. 7:29:18 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, or tomorrow or whenever. I've had a chill all day since my new shower. 7:29:45 p.m. on the 28th. From John O'Keefe to the defendant, it's going to snow all day tomorrow. No driving. 7:30:05 p.m. on the 28th. From John O'Keefe to the defendant, we're headed to McCarthy's. 7:41:29 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, okay, let me know if you end up leaving. 7:41:57 p.m. on the 28th.
Protected by the Constitution.
John O'Keefe to the defendant, why?
You got that coming.
Now you're not coming. 7:42:27 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, I'm waiting for the plumber. I actually think he's in the driveway. 7:42:56 p.m. on the 28th. From John O'Keefe to the defendant, we're taking Mike's car, so I'm relying on you for a ride home if he leaves. 7:43.
They have lost the jury. When all of you are asking questions like, I know I'm late showing up, this happens, but it's distracting. But is there a point to all of these messages other than to make us sleep? Lisa Ayers says, did they read all of these texts in the last trial? When questions like this are being asked, they lost the jury. Right? You can pretty much believe that you guys are going to react very similar to how a jury does. Right? We're watching the same evidence as the jury, and we're all asleep.
On the 28th.
And in theory, we have a better idea than the jury does because we've kind of deep dived this and gotten into it.
You have
we
a plumber
still
coming over at 8. Knowing me and Papa could have
there's
handled
nothing.
it. Good luck.
This is really,
44,
in my opinion, this is bad. And where are we at?
And
We're at 128. We're not even to the day of the murder yet.
I have always told you I will not put either of you
Accident.
out of your way
murdered.
the way
I mean,
everyone else in your life does. I knew
The
it wasn't
cops
working
come
right.
out a day
when
from
you
now.
were
This
at
is
the
going to
doctors with Kaylee.
really
I
a
knew
long trial at the rate we're going.
Neither of you could get here. And this guy, Richie, fixed it last time, whatever it was. He was supposed to be here at 5, 7:48:01 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, if it's not a quick fix, I'll tell him to forget it. 7:48:20 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant.
The prosecution currently is doing this, Cindy G.
7:55:04 p.m. on the 28th. The defendant is from the defendant to John O'Keefe. He's here now. If it's not quick, I'm not doing it. I just want to make sure nothing is wrong / will go wrong with when I'm not home. 7:55:44 on the 28th.
Good work if you can get it. I'm a redactor.
From the defendant to John O'Keefe, he's not a scammer. Half the quick stuff he doesn't even charge me for.
That's because you're a smoke show.
7:56:06 p.m. on the 28th. The defendant to John O'Keefe, he just put the toilet seats on crooked. 7:56:28 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, status 8:09:02 p.m. on the 28th.
Or you're right.
Defendant to John O'Keefe, still here with an emoji. 8:09:18 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, said he's got to go to HD and probably be back mañana. 8:23:56 p.m. on the 28th.
Little Home Depot.
From John O'Keefe to the defendant, so 8:24:43 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, an emoji, 8:25:02 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, just trying to figure out if I need to be here, 8:25:51 p.m. on the 28th.
It's ugly.
From John O'Keefe to the defendant, what does it need? 8:26:01 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, I don't know. He showed me some pieces that was all rusted. With an emoji. I don't understand half this stuff. 8:26:42 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant on the water heater. 8:26:59 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, yes, 8:27:08 p.m. on the 28th. From John O'Keefe to the defendant, tell him to leave it. I'll take care of it Sunday or Monday. 8:28:30 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, no, it's okay. I can either meet him here or just shut off the alarm. 8:28:52 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, he used to work here while I was at work.
See this? This is from
8:29:02 p.m.
jury. Clifton, you may as well be a jury. You're sitting listening to the same stuff.
Does he realize it will be
have any relevance
tomorrow a.m.?
I don't even feel bad talking over it because this is laying nothing. I mean, they could have done this in 6 texts.
Right down the road.
They could have highlighted 6 texts that show that there's really some problems in this relationship.
From John O'Keefe to the defendant,
they're not on solid ground.
Is going to be intense.
What would be funny, honestly, is if the defense stood up right now and said, Your Honor, instead of wasting the next 2 hours of time, we'll stipulate to the fact that they didn't get along. We'll even stipulate to the fact that it's Karen's fault that they don't get along. What difference does any of
John
that make?
O'Keefe to the defendant, I'll do it Monday.
This is what a
8:30, 56
prosecution
p.m.
does
on
when
the
they got
28th.
nothing. You understand? They got nothing.
From the defendant to John O'Keefe, I better not still have this problem on Monday.
The
8:31, 22
forensic
p.m. on the
pathologist,
28th.
people that do the autopsy, said not murder.
From John O'Keefe to the
The
defendant.
first cops that
you
showed up
plan
on the
being
scene
there.
said, this guy looks like he got the crap
8:31,
kicked out of him. He may have been
43
hit in the
p.m. on the
face with a
28th.
glass. They even called the hospital to say
From
that
the
this
defendant
looks
to
like a
John
fight.
O'Keefe, I'd to
Everything
know
that you're seeing
I
now,
can take
smoke and mirrors.
a hot shower there
And ineffective
if
smoke
I
and
need
mirrors.
to.
I've fallen asleep. I'm
8:32,
literally
14
sitting here
p.m. on the 28th.
asleep.
Figured you'd be, from John O'Keefe to the defendant, figured you'd be in Canton until Monday, 8:32, 32 p.m. on the 28th.
It is really good redacting, though.
From John O'Keefe to the
I think
defendant,
it's done with a computer, personally.
I'm getting off my phone. Let me know what you're doing, 8:32, 54 p.m. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, I think the four of us together is toxic to this relationship. Would like to limit it, 8:33, 16 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, you said so yourself for probably a year now, 8:33, 52 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, blizzard tomorrow, nobody is going anywhere, 8:33, 56 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, maybe I'll come back late tonight. Bad snow is in the early a.m., 8:35, 14 p.m. on the 28th. From the defendant to John O'Keefe, I'll head up there in a few min. Let me know if you leave, 8:35, 26 p.m. on the
He didn't
28th.
feel like he could fix that and say minutes.
John
He's
O'Keefe to the
literally
defendant,
doing this by the book.
An emoji.
I'll be there in a few
says,
minutes.
Sure, 8:35, 34 p.m. on the 28th. That was the last of them.
Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. Madam Chairperson, could you wake up the jury, please?
You can feel free to stand.
Oh, thank you, Honor.
Feel free to wake up the jury.
Compilation of text messages and phone calls between John O'Keefe and the defendant on January 28, 2022.
Yes, that was.
Aside from that compilation, are there other text messages and phone calls that you've reviewed between John O'Keefe and the defendant that evening, January 28, 2002, going into past midnight, January 29, 2022?
Yes, there's more text messages.
And those text messages and phone calls, are they a separate compilation from this?
Yes, that's correct.
Sure, at this time, I'd ask us to release Trooper Garino and recall him at a later date.
Yes. All right. There's no objection, Mr. Alessi, correct?
No objection, subject to the
Yes. All right. Thank you very much, Trooper. We'll see you another time.
Thank you.
Listen to her with her R's. Trooper. Thank you,
Is
Trooper.
this the time for me to see counsel at sidebar?
Side back.
Okay.
Sure, Mayor.
Yes.
Sure, I'm going to introduce exhibits or clips 7 through 11.
Thank you.
All right, what do we got?
With the court's permission, could I begin with clip 7?
Yes.
All right, wake the jury back up. I thought they were going to do more text messages. They'd really be in trouble.
How many drinks have you had?
I have had probably about 4, and not 4 that I completed either. I didn't drink maybe more than a few sips at the waterfall.
And 4 drinks you felt fine to drive?
Yep.
Clip 8, please.
Okay.
Don't do interviews.
And is the level of intoxication pretty high here for everybody?
It's happy.
Yeah.
It's
So you'd had a lot to drink, right?
I wouldn't say I have like a normal amount. Let's say like a vodka chime every 40 minutes.
Okay. And so are you feeling like buzzed? And I'm not judging, I'm just trying to get a
Yeah,
sense.
buzz.
Yeah.
Clip 9, please.
The final count summers. The final count on the way one takes, probably about 5 or 6 or 4. The drinks that they were pouring me at McCarthy's, which is where I consumed most of the alcohol, was the weakest vodka tonic. It tasted just like old soda water with lime. Not that I need it to be a martini, but it might have had a splash of vodka in it. So I said, John, this drink tastes like it has no vodka in it. He said, just get a shot and mix it yourself. So each drink was being counted as a double. So I would get a vodka tonic and then I would pour a shot into it. So that would count as 2. But frankly, it just felt like a regular cocktail. It was just a really weak pour. So I asked for a shot. So for my taste, it just tasted like that's the normal strength of what a drink should be. So I had maybe 2 or 3 that are being counted as 4 and 6. And I don't know. I felt fine. I felt like I was buzzed. And then there was one drink, the last one that was given to me, which I would have counted as 3, but they're counting as my 6th cocktail. The guys that we were with brought around the shots, and they gave me one that I didn't drink, but I poured it in my drink. So that's now my 5th and 6th drinks, with the 7th, which is a shot that all the men did, and I poured it. So that one glass that I'm holding, that I go into the waterfall with, has 3 drinks in it, a vodka tonic and 2 shots. And which is why John said to me, you're not leaving that drink here, like you haven't touched it and just poured a bunch of vodka. He's like, just take it with you, which is something he always did. So then I go into waterfall and I put that drink down and I socialize most of the time. So that would have been my 5th, 6th, and 7th drinks. Then John orders me a drink at the waterfall that I don't drink, that he takes with him. And then there was a round of shots that Chris Howard bought that I did take. So
Good
that
God.
that would have been the night. But I did not consume 9 vodka martinis or take 9 shots, depending on how you count it. And the last 2 drinks I didn't touch.
I think about that all the time. I'm not sure the answer to that, Cindy G, whether or not it creates them or it draws them in. It's a good question, though. If you're referring to something as a weak pour, you do too much drinking. Well, yeah, that was a really weak pour. You did way too much drinking.
I mean, I had drank, so, and that led me to question, like, could I have hit him? Did I run over his foot or hit him in the knee? Did I incapacitate him? I mean, I always drive with my music blasting ever since I was 16. And I know when John got out of the car to go into Fairview, I know my car was blasting because when I got in it the next morning, I go look for him, I had to immediately turn it down. And I don't know, it's stormy. I have had a few cocktails. I didn't black out, but I wasn't as lucid as I would have been if I had gone to bed at 9 and drank a tea. But so I was fuzzier than I would have been if I had had no alcohol.
I think she blacked out, but that's a personal opinion. I think she completely blacked out. If you listen to her from the next morning, she wasn't aware of what happened the night before. Thank you, Jane.
I wouldn't have gotten on the expressway. I wouldn't have gotten on the expressway at 12:15 on January 29th. I mean, it was quiet. The roads were very quiet. You can see it on the videos. And I was going, when I've had a few drinks and I drive, I always drive extra slow. So I know my alerts aren't as sharp as they should be. But I shouldn't have been driving. But I don't think I was driving. I know I wasn't driving recklessly. We've got plenty of video of myself driving all over the place. I put my car in John's garage, which is incredibly narrow, and I had a very oversized SUV. You see me. There's a video of me driving through the intersection when we leave Waterfall to go to Brian Albert's, and I was always taught by my father, even when you have a green light,
Thanks, Jane.
Tap the brake, you don't know who's going to run red. And I see me doing that multiple times between 12 and 1 and 5 and 6 a.m. So I know I was driving.
Saguaro Christmas. The first chats were the day before, and then the last of them were on the day. They didn't actually play all of them, believe it or not.
Recklessly, by any measure.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
Do I think she's guilty or do I think she was set up? I think that she was really drunk, and I think that the injuries caused to John O'Keefe, I think you're going to find out from the witnesses this time around, could not have been caused by an automobile. He did not die in the cold, right? The science is going to show that this dude died in a warm environment, right? They're also going to tell you that the shot that he took to the back of the head turned off his computer, right? That was it. From that point on, he wasn't walking, he wasn't talking, he wasn't doing anything. So if he died inside warm, how the hell did he get outside? Once he took the shot to the head, he could not do self-locomotion. Someone had to carry him. So I don't know what happened, but I know that the cops handled this so poorly, they're got to be covering something. They didn't even investigate anything. They didn't go inside. That's really bad.
All right, jurors, there was some confusion with counsel regarding witnesses. So those are the witnesses for today, so we're done for today. Counsel assures me that won't happen again, but more importantly, we're on track. We're on schedule, not going for the rest of the day, won't interfere with our schedule at all. Looks like it's, I can't tell with all the curtains here, but it looks like it's a beautiful day. You'll have a nice afternoon. Tomorrow we'll be going on a view. So for that, we're comfortable clothes. We'll be walking around a little bit. We'll be going by bus, and I'll have more instructions for you tomorrow morning. But please follow those instructions. Do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into this case. If you happen to see, hear, read anything about this case, please disregard it and let us know. And we'll see you tomorrow morning. Remember, tomorrow's a hot day.
All rise for the court, please.
Close your notebooks and follow me.
Close your notebooks. Follow me. All right. So if there's anybody if there were any questions that I didn't answer, I'm going to try to go over them now. So here's the thing. If she drinks a lot, that might be a few drinks to her. Alcohol is a harsh mistress. You're absolutely right. And it's a great point. I was married to someone once who weighed 130 pounds, and that woman could drink a fifth and a half of bourbon. I couldn't at 225 pounds. But you know what and at a fifth of bourbon, at a half a fifth, you wouldn't know she was drinking. You can build up incredible tolerances. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'd be
Mr. Brennan,
shocked.
have you had an opportunity to think
she isn't an
about
alcoholic,
whether experts
or
should be
wasn't at the time.
needed to either be present or watch the proceeding? And I also want to know, are you expecting to put on any expert testimony tomorrow?
Dr. Fowler will testify tomorrow. I think that should be considered expert testimony. He provides the procedures and protocol for the testing of blood serum.
Okay.
So I think he's technically considered an expert, although one of the briefer ones.
All right. Does the defense want an expert to be able to watch that? All right. So I know we've had a lot going on this morning. Do you want to address this tomorrow? When do you want to address whether experts should be present?
I can address it tomorrow morning. I can
All
consider
right.
it.
We'll do that. And have you talked about who you all mean? Like, do you all know who you want to have exempt from the sequestration order?
We haven't got to that detail. I'm sure they have in mind who they want. I haven't gotten to that point yet.
All
We
right.
can have that discussion so that we can present tomorrow what my position is and address the court on the witnesses.
Sure, we can do that. And then I know you said that you've got an agreement that you'll provide witnesses or a list of witnesses in advance to defense counsel, and I'm sure you'll provide witnesses in advance to Mr. Brennan. Include me on that, please. I just like to know
Very
who's
well.
coming up the next day because I have to prepare as well.
Happy to. Thank you.
Okay? All right, so we'll see you tomorrow morning.
Thank you again.
You know, that's actually a fact, Chris and Melinda, but I catch so much crap every time I say this, but it's the truth. Men have we have a stronger concentration of an enzyme that is used to break alcohol down so that there is a decent chance that her BAC may have been a little bit higher than a man. But again, a great point is Cindy G that says each person is different. She says, I would be more intoxicated from a bottle of Dr. Pepper than a bottle of wine too. Yeah, you know what? and then there's also, we don't know how long this person's been an alcoholic. We don't know if the person is, but we don't know how long the person has been drinking abusively or whatever. But alcohol is a weird drug because it's a poison, right? So your body has to get rid of it, and it does that through the liver. When you drink alcohol, there is a very thin lining in your stomach that allows alcohol to pass through it directly into the bloodstream. Your liver can burn out, can remove 1 ounce an hour. So when Karen Reed is talking about how many cocktails she has had, if she had 14 cocktails, right, which is it has been suggested that she had between 12 and 14 cocktails, right, or drinks, ounces, whatever. If that ends up being the case, then in theory, you need about 14 hours to burn that out, right? However, how long have you been drinking? We all know people that drink forever, and you get to a point where now your filter doesn't work the way it was supposed to. It can no longer burn off an ounce an hour. So very often a person will hit what we call reverse tolerance. Have you ever met somebody that when you first knew them, these people used to drink a case of beer a day? Now this person drinks 1 24-ounce beer a day, and they're drunker than you've ever seen anybody. You say, how can anybody get that drunk on 1 beer? And the answer is, if your liver can't remove the alcohol, then it stays in your bloodstream and just keeps cruising around and doing what it does, right? That normally when 1 hour your liver would have gotten rid of it, your liver can't get rid of it. And for those people, small amounts of alcohol have a very profound effect. It is called reverse tolerance. And it is one of the last really horrific things to happen prior to literally getting a condition that you'll hear people refer to as wet brain. And this is basically where you've destroyed your brain with alcohol. It's horrific to see. Alcohol has its place, right? I am of the firm belief that all drugs have their place. I think that done responsibly, does that kind of damage heal? Yes, it does. But it takes a very, very long time to heal. The liver is the most amazing of all organs, right? And the designer knew what they were doing, because the liver's ability to process toxins absolutely can heal. Absolutely it can. And you can do transplants of livers, right? In what they call a lobal transplant, where you don't have to give up your entire, you can give a portion of your liver to somebody for a transfusion. They take that portion of the liver and they put it in there, and that liver grows into an entire functioning liver. Crazy, right? It is the only organ in the body that does this, but it's pretty incredible what just what our body is capable of doing. We're blessed as hell in that sense. That being said, it's a long process for the liver to heal, and with anything, right? Err on the side of caution. And by that, I mean, always talk to a doctor before you do anything. And this is going to sound crazy, but talk to a doctor before you quit doing drugs, right? Don't just, and obviously we want everybody to get sober, but depending on what it is you're doing, if you're drinking 1.5 cups of alcohol a day, you just can't quit. You can't. The body is going to need it. And if not, you will go into seizures and get what's called, the delirium tremens are part of the withdrawal, and these seizures can kill people. It's the second leading cause of death and incarceration across the United States, one being suicide. Hey, Mr. Wolf, you be safe and be careful, all right? Hopefully we see you tomorrow. God bless. A quarter, I believe, of a liver, and it would grow back to full. Tonsils can grow back too. I did not know that. If they don't get the roots, apparently tonsils can grow back. They got my roots because mine never grew back, thank God. I had 2 +7 tonsils. I don't know what that means, but every doctor I've ever told freaks out when you tell them. Literally, I'm not exaggerating. They were bigger than golf balls. They were absolutely massive in size. I remember when I went in to get them removed, and the doctor said to me, "How have you been swallowing food?" And I just had no point of reference. That's what the back of my throat was like. But I had them lasered out. They just went in there, and I was 28 or 29 when it happened. It was the worst procedure I have ever had. It was absolutely awful. Alcohol preventing abusers. In addition, non-drinkers living in a home with alcohol users were at an increased rate of homicide. I think that no matter what the science and the statistics come to prove out on that, Jane, what we're going to find is that I think all parties involved can say that when alcohol is a factor, the chance of people ending up dead goes absolutely through the roof. And I think, right, for probably pretty obvious reasons. The first thing that alcohol does in the body is it lowers inhibitions, right? And what are inhibitions? Usually smart decisions made by you, right? You're a woman and you're out at a club and you think, you know what? I'm going to get down to my bra and panties and dance on this table. 90% of people on the planet are going to go, no, I'm not going to do that. Never do that. That's the dumbest thing in the world. The 10% that get up on that table didn't do it sober, right? It gets you to lower your inhibitions. Most of us have probably at one time or another ended up having sexual relations with somebody that after the fact we went, oh my God, I wouldn't have done that sober, right? And it's because things like inhibitions, things like and your decision-making processes, all of the things that are going to protect you from doing really stupid things are the very first thing that is going to get drugged when you begin to drink. Right? And then next is motor skills and things like that. Now all of a sudden you hear people and they start to slur and their motions become a little bit more exaggerated because now you have gone past that mental effect and you're getting into the physical. And that's why, beer goggles, that's correct. That's why they give you a field sobriety test, right? The field sobriety test is going to test because you can drug yourself with alcohol and still be able to drive. Don't, right? Because it's a fine line. But if you only have one cocktail, if you only have one drink and you wait 10 to 15 minutes before you get in the car, more than likely you're not going to blow so high on a breathalyzer that you're dirty, meaning you can drive. Physically, you're probably not impaired. But even the decision-making processes, right? Inhibitions have to do with things like decision-making processes. And people sitting at a light going, I can make that yellow light, right? You're not physically impaired, but your decisions, you shouldn't be behind the wheel of a car if you've had anything to drink. And I'll go a step farther and say you probably shouldn't be behind the wheel if you've had something to smoke, snort, eat, right? Free base, whatever the hell you're doing. Plus, people just look better when you're drunk, says Annabelle Black Boots. Well, there's that. I'll tell you something that I have found too. For a lot of people, it's that people seem, like I had a friend who used to say one of his favorite expressions was, I drink because it makes people less of an asshole. Right? If I want you to be less of a jerk, I find that by drinking, that works out, which is somewhat hysterically funny if you think about it. But I will tell you this. I use hemp products to go to sleep with. And it's not just because it prevents nightmares and it prevents a lot of the problems that I've been having in my sleep cycle. It's more than that. It's also a sense of well-being that I carry into sleep, right? And it works beautifully for me. Barb's tonsils grew back. She had to have them removed a couple of years ago. Oh, I bet she was pissed. Wart and Thistle. This is for Wart and Thistle, and it's for every other person that didn't yesterday. Right? Every day is a bitch. If you're somebody that is fighting to fight the good fight and to stay sober, there is something every day that pushes us to go, boy, I'd like to get higher. Boy, I'd like to get loaded. Or boy, I would like to make this go away. So to everybody who's going to get through that again today, right? Don't suffer in silence. Reach out to somebody if you feel like you're going to use, and if it's starting to get close, before you make the decision to call the dope man, before you make the decision to drive to the liquor store, take 5 minutes and reach out to somebody who's already sober and just tell them your plan, right? When I work with people as sponsors, and I'm putting up the air fingers for that because I'm not a sponsor of any kind, but when I work with people to try to help people get sober, that is usually the deal that I make them. The deal is if you're going to go out and drink or get loaded or get high or whatever, I just want a commitment that you're going to call me before you do it. I want 5 minutes of your life, right? If you're going to go drink, I can't stop you. I just want to talk to you for 5 minutes before you do. And there are people who talk to me and then still go get loaded. But the importance in that is, well, then we know you made a decision, didn't we? We know that you talked to somebody who tried to point out why this may not be in your best interest. And then you said, no, I'm going to do it anyway. That's a lot better than, and it's more important because when you sit down and you get to talk to these people, you don't get that. I just don't know how it happened. Yeah, you do. Sure, you do. I talked to you about it. I said, you're making a decision to do this. You're throwing away, right, all of the effort that you've made up to this point. And that's throwing it away. You stumble and get back up like our friend from yesterday, Jeanette, I believe was her name, right? 181 days, 90 days sober, 1 screw up, and 90 days sober. Well, in my opinion, that's 181 days sober. There's a hiccup in there. But if you say, I'm all in, if you say, I'm getting sober, I'm going to change my life, well, there's no reason to penalize yourself for stumbling. If nobody ever did, then we'd say, well, no, then screw you, dummy. But everybody does. Everybody stumbles. Relapse, and I know that people get so pissed when I say this, but relapse is a part of this process. Kind of how it works. Right? And you say, Tommy, if you say that, it makes it, it almost makes it sound natural. You shouldn't say that because you don't want to justify what people are doing. No, the better option is to make relapse such a horrific thing that people want to lie about it, right? Or they don't feel comfortable or confident speaking about it. Worse, you got 300 days sober and you relapse. I blew a whole year. Well, then what's the point of getting back up and dusting yourself off? You blew a whole year. Spend the next 6 months getting shit-faced. And spend a couple of weeks partying. If you view it as part of an entire process, it's not a journey. I mean, it's not a sprint. It's not a marathon. It's the rest of your life, right? It's getting to the pine box and having as few screw-ups as possible on the way to that pine box. But if you went 90 days sober and then you relapsed, right, and you got back up and dusted yourself off, all the lessons you learned in that first 90 days, they're still there, right? To discount those and say, well, that's not important anymore. All of that stuff and all of those triumphs and all the times like Wharton Fissel, who yesterday said, I didn't use, right? I was close, but I didn't use. You don't throw those moments away. Those are the bricks that you build the rest of your life on, right? These are literally the foundation of what you're going to build the rest of your life, because your job as a drug addict is to get through that day without using. And if you go, I don't do drugs. If you're drinking it, it's a drug. I promise. Alcohol's a drug. Drugs affect the mind. Doesn't matter how you get it in there. Smoke it, shoot it, sniff it, drink it, whatever. I told the girl at a store I was sober, but thinking of drinking. She said, please don't. I said I won't because of her. That's a beautiful thing, isn't it? It really is. God bless her, man. Right? God bless her. And you know something? You could probably hit strangers up every time. Honestly. If a stranger walked up to you and said, hey, I'm thinking of getting drunk. I'm an alcoholic. I'm thinking of getting drunk. Would you go, F you, I got to go to work? I'd drop ass right where I was and talk to that person until they didn't want to drink. And I bet you every single one of you would too. Sorry. It's beautiful stuff, Wharton. It really is. And my hat is off to you for saying to a stranger, I'm thinking of using. It's genius is what it is, man. It's genius. Honestly. In fact, that is what you do. Right? Take that time to say to somebody, I'm thinking of doing this. You know what that's the opposite of? Suffering in silence. Wharton Fissel, you're a beast. Honestly, that's awesome, man. Every once in a while, you need something like that to restore your faith in humanity. You feel me? There's a lot of really bad people out there who put out really bad messages, right? Who move closer to hate every single day. It's funny, too, because half of them will tell you they're Christians. People who tell me what great Christians they are scare the shit out of me. The greatest people, religious people I ever met in my life, you didn't know they were Christians because they told you so. They lived in such a way where you would go, what is going on in your life? Right? Why are you so much more at ease? Why are you so much more at peace? Why are you so much happier? Right? Those kind of people. And they were never shoving anything down your throat, but God for freaking bid you ask them that question. Why is it that you're so much happier, right, than other people that I've met? Oh, you're going to hear about God. Like you got to that point and you asked them, they're going to take you apart talking to you about God. If you ask them why they're happy, I trust and believe they're going to tell you. But I remember being shocked by one of them. Seriously. I went, you're a Christian? And he said, yeah, you said that like I had cancer. I go, no, but you just didn't mention it. He goes, why would you? Seriously, why would I? Wharton, it's hard not to cry right now just listening to it, man. Wharton says, I'm ex-Special Forces guy, but I've been crying like a baby. Honestly, I don't blame you. What a beautiful human, too. God bless her, man. God bless her. Tell you what, see this? That one is for that woman. God bless her. Please don't. Pretty simple, isn't it? You didn't suffer in silence, and somebody took the time to say, please don't do that to yourself. Someone who cared about you for no reason. They didn't know you. God, help us, man. Just when you're ready to give up on this planet. Right? Wharton Fissel, you just restored my faith in humanity for the day. God bless that woman. I mean it. God bless her. By the way, we thought we would be doing this trial for the most of the day today, but apparently Bev has different thoughts. But it's going to give me the opportunity to go get some things done today. There's some errands and such that I got to run. I will be back tomorrow to do this trial, and I'm going to be back at 7 o'clock tonight, and we're going to talk about some other fun stuff. All right? Between now and then, do me a favor and reduce a little harm. And we're working out the bugs. The stuff this morning, that was the not the fault of us. That was the fault of the system. It was happening to a lot of other people as well. You know what? That's a great idea, and I'm going to do it. You have my word. We'll call it the Wharton Fissel shirt. I'm going to make that happen. By the way, there will also be mugs in there that say allegedly. We're getting that put together. So yesterday, someone asked about that. I'm in the process of making that happen. You'll be able to order your allegedly mug. Wharton, God bless you. And God bless all the people on this boat. I dig it. Between now and the next time I see you, reduce a little harm. Love you guys. Bye-bye.